Additional response for a vegetation fire in the area.
Hey Rich, good to see you.
How's it going,
Let me
man?
tell you what I got cooking on this.
Okay.
So the wind's really starting to pick up. I want to activate the Zonehaven emergency management evacuation system. Immediate evacuation order to this zone right here. This is mil-E021.
Okay. I'll make the call to the County Emergency Operations Center, and they'll notify all the residents in that zone.
Perfect.
Hey, we have a fast-moving wildfire. We need to send out an evacuation order to all residents in Zone Mill E021 through Alert Marin.
Okay, confirming you want evacuation order for Mill Valley E021? Okay, thanks.
All right, so I'm sending officers into Zone Mill E021.
Yep.
They're going to evacuate all the residents in that zone. I've also got officers going to major intersections to control traffic, and I'm going to be using Zonehaven to monitor that traffic in real time.
You may have heard that we have a new tool called Zonehaven to help us with emergency evacuations. We'll continue to use the same unified command structure that we're already using. Zonehaven just makes it easier for us to plan for evacuations.
So instead of doing the evacuation planning on the scene as we did in the past, we'll now be able to pre-plan, run scenarios and drills, and decrease the time it takes to order an evacuation and communicate updates. Because it's been rolled out across the Bay Area, we'll also now be able to better communicate and coordinate evacuations across counties.
Hi, I'm Woody Baker-Cohn with the Sheriff's Office of Emergency Services. I'm going to show you Zonehaven today, which is a new tool the county has adopted, which will be an extremely valuable tool for evacuations, evacuation warnings, and shelter in place. You can get to it from any browser, and the URL is app.zonehaven.com. The login will always be your email address and your password. You can reset your password if you need to from the console right here, or if you're ever in a position where you're having technical problems, you can contact somebody in OES by contacting the County Communications Center and asking to have the OES duty officer paged. So I've just logged in. We've got various user types in here. There's administrators, editors who can change zones, and then there's also people that can just view. And then there are people that can alert and not alert. So I'm logged in here as somebody who can alert, obviously. So I've logged in. You see a bunch of divisions. These are zones within the county. You'll also see other counties here that have Zonehaven. So for situational awareness, you can see what's going on in adjacent counties. As you zoom in, you'll see the zone labels starting to pop up, and they're done by jurisdiction. MRN for unincorporated areas, Kentfield is KEN, and so forth. If we zoom down here to Mill Valley, you'll see a bunch of Mill Valley zones here as well. Looking just across the interface on the left side, you can search for addresses or locations. You can go down here. There's a pop-up here for fires, so that would allow you to see what are current fires. This is updated by Zonehaven periodically, and you can turn on the visibility as with other things there. Layers. There are a bunch of layers here you can look at. Right now they're turned off, but critical evacuation facilities, arrival points, which may or may not be things like temporary evacuation points or TEPs, traffic, and then fire-related things like red flag warnings, and then fire detection things here. So just to kind of illustrate it, I will turn on the critical facilities here, and you see a bunch of things have popped up. In particular, we have a lot of schools listed. So those are the layers. You can look at weather, and weather is really just across the area, so a bunch of indications on things like wind direction and so forth. Further down, we can filter for different areas or agencies if we only wanted to look at things that were Mill Valley as opposed to unincorporated, for instance. And then, of course, the legend here, which will show you what each of those icons or symbology means. Further down, we can go to three-dimensional, search for your location, zoom in and out, which you can also do with a map. Okay, and additionally, you can go to the satellite view, and you click on satellite here. you'll see not just the satellite view itself, but now notice you'll also see traffic. And the traffic patterns are driven in the standard colors you would expect from Waze, for instance. So green for faster moving, yellow, and then red for very backed up. And this is, of course, very handy when you're looking at the live traffic and planning evacuation routes that you're going to send people under. So as you do that, you can go back here, switch back out of that, and look as we were doing to the zones. If we are, for instance, looking at this particular zone and we click on it, a side panel will open up here and it'll show you what the daytime and nighttime population estimate is. Again, daytime and nighttime vehicles, which is helpful in planning for evacuation traffic. It'll show you the size of the zone in terms of acres, which is valuable, of course, during fires. The PIOs will use this and so forth, how many structures, and then you can download the Evacuation Pre-Plan, which includes a bunch of this in PDF, and that'll be whatever has been set up in there at the time. The summary, it'll tell you Scotts Valley lower here, and also the description. The description is very valuable when we're sending out an evacuation alert. We'll give the zone designation, so in this case, Mill or Mill Valley E021, but many people, of course, won't know what zone they're in. So there's a good narrative description here, which is what we'll use in the alert Marin notification. So we'll just take that right off of that. Further down, it'll show you what the responsibilities are in terms of the fire agency and the law agency. So that pretty well covers that. We can actually choose multiple zones. So you may want to, you may need to evacuate order or evacuation warning for a couple of them, and it'll combine the data together, so you get a combined number, which is very handy. Now I'm going to go ahead and go through the updating of the zone status. So once you've logged into the system, you can do this. You may find that if you're in the field, that it's easier to just contact the OES duty officer and have them do this for you, which is certainly fine. There may also be occasions where you're not wanting to evacuate an entire zone or put an entire zone, for instance, on shelter in place. We can subdivide the zones, but we can also do something that is less than a zone, just sort of outside of Zonehaven. That might be if you've got a square block that you need to put on shelter in place due to a law enforcement action or perhaps a utility emergency, something like that. So now to go in and update the status, so to change it from normal, I'll go here, click on Update Status, and this will come back and show us a drop down here. And in this case, I'm going to put it on Evacuation Warning. So I've clicked that. So status reason, I'm going to put this as test only, since we're obviously just testing in case somebody happens to notice this. So in this case, it's test. In another case, it might be that there's a vegetation fire that is being worked on, but we're putting people on evacuation warning just in case. So click Update, and now you'll see this thing has now changed to Evacuation Warning, and change the color there, and again it's giving you that summary. I'm just going to briefly click over to our county's emergency portal. I'm going to go to Evacuation and then scroll down to the map and look in here, and we will see as we zoom into that same area, again we're seeing the same number, that the color shows different, and when we click on it, it'll show Evacuation Warning, and the reason is test only. So this is what the public would see if they were looking at the Zonehaven map on the county site here. In summary, Zonehaven is a real breakthrough for the county. It gives us one set of data for field and for the EOC, for the OES, for law, and for fire. We're all looking at one set of data, one set of status and in terms of numbers of evacuated, things like that. The public information officer has got the same data, so a real breakthrough.
Talk to your command staff in your jurisdiction to find out more about the Zonehaven platform and how it applies to you. Training videos are also available online at the link on your screen.
Marin's law enforcement, fire, and emergency personnel are working together across jurisdictions to plan for safe, effective, and streamlined evacuation.